Welcome back. Thanks for subscribing to the show, man. I really appreciate it. I used to ask myself, what Omar Davies really think about at nights, knowing how he has victimized and betrayed his country. Treasonous FINSAC took down Jamaica. And the sad part is that he caused this issue. And when it came down to it, he sell out whole heap of local businesses to foreigners. What a shame. Me did shock for find out that Omar Davies never feel bad about what happened. You know. Listen to this before me telling about this lady here.
You know, on second, I figured that, I said to myself, I was incensed that Dr. Davis would be making light of such a serious situation. And as if it is funny, I take exception to him behaving the way that he behaves.
I agree. Shameful.
That is so, to me, that was so distasteful. You know, but I leave it at that.
Yeah, man, so give thanks to all who support the steady show, you know what I mean? But, quick question. What do you think the present government could have done for the victims of FINSAC? Let me know in the comments. Omar Davies made light of the situation that devastated not just this lady, but a whole lot of other victims. For all the businesses that have been shut down, half the country basically, 44,000 businesses. What kind of people are these? And that's why I'm telling you, people, you have to be careful who you vote for. Because everybody that come campaigning and asking for or buying your votes, and everyone of them mean well. Look at what somebody that the people elected to serve the country of Jamaica did. And after making such horrendous decision, how do you laugh at the victim them? She is the president of the FINSAC Business Association or something to that effect. But in a fair case now, fair husband borrow $10 million at 35% interest to complete 2 contracts. So he was a contractor. Of course, they pledged their home as collateral. So the project them go down because of the ballooning or the high interest rate that the government set up. This is a lady the government laugh at shamefully. So in a nutshell, what happened to them now is that interest rate went all the way up to 120% with repayments of $52 million. That, of course, not enough to settle the $85 million that the JRF demand. And everybody knows that most of the FINSAC properties, they went to the JRF. And she said her family home was sold for $20 million in spite of the fact that they offered $50 million to hold the property. Offer them 2.5 more times than what they sold the property for, and they wouldn't take it for that. So you can see exactly what happened right there. So don't it? It was not about the money. It was about clearly selling her property to somebody else within the network who was just waiting. The decision, it was the transfer of wealth. Big up to my subscriber for that one here. So see, we have some more news as it relates to the behavior of the FINSAC posse. And he was also ridiculed. So what we are learning now is that in addition to people that take people title, I take out loans and their names, I guess whoever worked in the bank, they realized that the government had basically turned the country into a grab and go. From people who work in a bank to politicians. It was white-collar thieves all over the place. Yeah, man, so Danford had to give up his penthouse in addition to losing his business, and this was due to Hurricane Gilbert. Borrow $5 million, and when the high interest rates hit between 50 to 90%, that is when he fell into trouble. And when the man go to court, here the attorney to the man now. So you say that the spiraling interest rates made it virtually impossible for you to keep current, as if that wasn't common. His $5 million loan, it went all the way up to $33 million. After him done pay down $15 million on the principal on a $5 million loan. So in a nutshell, him end up losing property. And again, they were laughing at me saying, Mr. You're not a good businessman. You should be able to run your business Them people are not gonna rest until them get some kind of justice. And I think it is full time this is addressed. So we await on the report, and of course we now know that the reason why we not see this a report yet is that it not gonna nice. You can't pretty man. The gross injustice that was done to the people. You know, funny. So Valerie C. Dixon, she wrote the book, Too Black to Succeed. Just May 19 alone, she talked about on her Facebook page, she's still talking about this issue after years. Many of these victims, they're still talking, still looking to get some kind of justice. As a matter of fact, when the situation came out the other day with SSL and Usain Bolt, it was Yola who came out and said it was just a reflection, a reminder of what happened. Because remember, anytime we don't take some kind of corrective behavior as it relates to the past, those things are likely to repeat themselves in the future. It's a great credit must be given where credit is due. They successfully used propaganda to convince the mainly better educated Jamaicans to believe that 44,000 entrepreneurs were greedy and did not want to repay and service the loan. So, you see, Andrew Holness just come out the other day and him talk about propaganda. As a matter of fact, we decided to make call them the National Propaganda Party until they start do something about how they operate. So it look like propaganda has always been a part of this whole PMP organization. I want to make sure I hit the like button now because we are getting the information from everywhere, you know. So this was a propaganda indeed. I definitely agree with Valerie that it was propaganda because look on the world stage what was happening. The Wall Street Journal, April 29, that's a one day after my birthday. Big up the Taurus gang scene. Kingston, Jamaica, a collapsing real estate market and the poor supervision of banks and insurance companies have sparked a financial system crisis in Jamaica that threatens economic revisions. The government has already spent, and whatever them said the government did, whatever they thought the government did or whatever the government spent, it did not fix anything. It made things worse. Them could have fooled the Jamaican people, them, you know. Do it all the time, but the Wall Street Journal, everybody knows they are top of the line sinting this. As one story say, when the FINSAC money started spent all over the place, you know, everybody started to pattern their lifestyles after Wall Street. You can imagine what would have happened if we had these business people around today like we did back in the day, the kind of examples they would have been for the generations after them, because we are talking about 2 generations ago, you know, and this no fix. Andrew Holness and Nigel uno in the best position for fix the situation here because uno never debut in them the time there. And while we know you have to have loyalties, do some kind of restoration to the people them of FINSAC. Send a clear message to all politicians, be they JLP or PMP, that when they get into power, their job is to serve, and you cannot have somebody snuffing out 44% of GDP on bad decisions and didn't even repent. And then even the hyenas that came years after, you know, as we've seen in the newspaper, to come now and reap the benefits that the real lions. I'm going to do a separate video on that, you know, about the hyenas and the lions, you know. Those people who reap back in the day things that they never work hard for, like the ordinary Jamaicans, you know, are here trying to win an election on propaganda. And I can tell you, Jamaica, it was a shame that y'all kept the PNP in power, knowing fully well what they've been doing and they've done to the people of Jamaica. The dark-skinned, common, black Jamaicans who clearly were too dark to be successful. What them couldn't split among their friends and the brown Jamaicans and the uptown Jamaicans. The rest of it went to overseas. What a shame that Omar Davies laughed at the victims of FINSAC. The very same subscriber that pointed my attention, that drew my attention to the foot story. It has a very interesting comment that I want to read about how the PMP was spending money. And folks, make sure say when I get to the comments, I want to tell me, because people are already in the comments on the FINSAC videos telling us, what they've lost. By the way, that Dr. Paul Chen Young story, that's another story again, because he also talked about the fact that when they came to liquidate, they had no idea that this was going to happen. And when he asked the question, if it is that they're going to liquidate or take away the company, somebody said, but after the company not worth nothing. You know, see what did that go on? People are asking for doing, send them video to victims and family members who were affected by FINSAC. We need to do something tangible in recognition of them. We want to make sure that that report is way before election day so we can have some really good information upon which to decide. Let's move on to this very interesting comment, Good evening, Steady. Funds from this indecent arrangement were used to fund PMP campaigns. Just research who were the major donors to the PMP election coffers. This is why the JLP stood no chance in winning for almost 19 years. It wasn't until 2007 that Bruce Golding's campaign was able to stun the PMP by using social media campaign, a heretofore means that was never relied on in Jamaican politics. Very good point. As they stood no chance in the means that was never relied on in Jamaican politics, as they stood no chance in winning in the traditional media. Such media themselves were making indecent returns of Omar Davies' pyramid scheme, so they were fiercely supportive of the PMP and its propaganda. To date, the Gleaner RGR group continues to do so. Wilmot Perkins was one of the few voices that didn't support the PMP's position. It was when Finance Minister Audley Shaw changed the arrangement of borrowing on the so-called capital market at exorbitant rates and went back to the multinationals that we saw PMP not seeming so rich anymore. Since then, the PMP has been broke and can hardly get any donation, as the means by which they could has been cauterized. When Audley Shaw was opposition spokesman on finance, he told Omar Davies in his budget contribution that cheaper money was available at 4%, and Shaw was laughed at and mocked by the then government that such low interest rates did not exist. Yet when the JLP took office in 2007, they were thereafter able to obtain loans from the multinationals at less than 1%. The question then is, if such low rates were available, why was Omar Davies borrowing from JMMB, owned by the Duncans, DB&G, owned by Daring Bunting and Golden, the then chief financial advisor to Omar Davies? What a brilliant comment! Hey, this alone sum up almost everything we are going on in the politics right now. So maybe we can just assume that the reason why Golden and Bunting are run down the thing so much is that they want to recover all of the money that them did spend during them the time there. I'm going to wrap this up now at DHWR 6011. Big up yourself. Thank you for your contribution to that video. This is Steady saying like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Steady.